and Kelley.
Good Sunday morning to you. Welcome to Hancock and Kelley on Fox 2, where we take on the top issues of the week. On the right, John Hancock.
Top of the morning.
On the left, Michael Kelley.
Good morning.
I'm Andy Banker. On the agenda this morning, St. Louis County Executive Sam Page ups the ante in his battle with Governor Mike Parson over who gets to appoint the next county prosecutor. Page makes his pick. President Biden pardons his son Hunter. Will he also pardon the city of St. Louis's former top prosecutor, Kim Gardner? It's President-elect Trump, not President Biden, who's in Paris for the reopening of the historic Notre Dame Cathedral. And our quote of the week is from West County State Senator David Gregory. His proposal for Missouri residents to claim $1,000 bounties for rounding up undocumented migrants. Also, a top St. Louis promoter quits, and another who was fired gets a new job with the city. Plus, Donald Trump's pick to head the IRS, a familiar Missouri face. We begin with Democrat St. Louis County Executive Sam Page naming the next county prosecutor. He says he's appointing former Democrat congressional candidate Cort VanOstran, who lost his bid against Republican Ann Wagner in 2018. Current county prosecutor Wesley Bell is headed to Congress in January after being elected to Congress himself last month. Governor Parson is suing Page, claiming it's his job to fill Bell's post, not Page's. The governor is said to be leaning toward Assistant Prosecutor Melissa Smith. Now, she has support from various Democrats and police organizations, as well as Republicans, like apparently Mike Parson, the governor. What is really going on here, John Hancock?
Well, there's a struggle to figure out who gets to make this, appointment. Now, I'll tell you, you kind of feel bad for Page because here he has a chance to make a friend. But I think it's unclear. State law says the governor does it. The county charter says the county executive does it. The court's going to figure it out. I don't know how they're going to come down. But this will be a consequential ruling going forward.
Now, it seems like, Michael, though, that there's a little bit of room for agreement here on Melissa Smith, the assistant county prosecutor. Some Democrats like her. People in the office like her.
Sure.
Why can't Sam Page and the governor just think, okay, this is easy, no brainer?
Sure, potentially, but let's look at some history here. When Kim Gardner resigned, the governor made the appointment of Gabe Gore. In St. Charles, when Tim Lomar resigned, Steve Ailman was allowed to make the replacement. So is it only Republicans who get to name their replacements, even though that's what the law says? So that's point number one. Point number two is that it will be interesting to see whether or not Sam Page is able to garner the support of the county council in this battle with Jefferson City, because I think that makes his argument even stronger as to why the governor's playing favorites.
We should not presume that the governor and Steve Ailman were not speaking during the appointment of Joe McCullough in St. Charles County. And so if the governor feels like his choice is going to be selected, then I don't know what the big deal is here. And the thing with Page is this underscores, because you're right, Andy, they ought to just visit and figure it out, the two of them. Sam Page can't work with other people. I don't understand what the deal is, but his entire history as county executive demonstrates that he cannot work well with others.
Now, the state constitution says the governor fills vacancies in the absence of other law. So there is other law here.
Yeah, the court's going to have to figure this out.
Well, and this is a good fight for Sam Page to have. Anytime you're able to make Jefferson City the villain, the Republicans are trying to play favorites, this is a good fight for a guy wanting to create friends.
One thing we haven't talked about is Cort VanOstran.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Cort's a really good guy. He would be a great prosecutor. Very nice
federal prosecutor. He already resigned to take this job.
He's got the pedigree, he's got the qualifications, and he's able, like Gabe Gore, to stay in that office once he's appointed.
There's a new call for President Biden to pardon the city of St. Louis's former top prosecutor, the former circuit attorney Kim Gardner. Renowned attorney and Gardner ally Ben Crump took up for Gardner after President Biden pardoned his son Hunter. We're going to get to that later in our next segment. Gardner reached a diversion agreement with federal authorities to avoid prosecution. She admitted to using office funds to pay herself back $5,000 worth of fines and court costs for ethics violations in her prosecution of then Governor Eric Greitens. So she cut a deal to make that go away, paying herself back the $5,000 out of office funds. But Michael, you pardon Hunter, do you pardon Kim Gardner?
I don't think this is a pardon that rises to the level of the presidency. I think this is attention getting by Kim Gardner. Look, there was a lot in that whole tornado of craziness that was the Gardner administration. She just needs to move on. There's no erasing that whole period.
Trump calls it systemic injustice against Kim Gardner.
I think that would be a retelling of the events we all witnessed.
I call it systemic abuse of taxpayer funds is what I call it, Andy. That's $5,000. That's a lot of nursing shifts, that to pay that back. But, Kim Gardner needs to just go. She's not going to get a pardon by Joe Biden. And she needs to, if she hasn't already, needs to pay the $5,000 back. And she should have never taken it in the first place. She should have, her tenure is a blotch on that office.
One of St. Louis's biggest cheerleaders is jumping ship to take a similar job in Columbus, Ohio. Jason Hall is stepping down as CEO of Greater St. Louis, Inc., a Chamber of Commerce-like organization that promotes economic growth in the region. Hall says, he's painting a little bit of a rosy picture of what he's leaving behind, saying the unified leadership of the St. Louis Metro's business community is creating unstoppable momentum. I will continue to champion St. Louis, reaching its full potential from afar. John Hall is a St. Louis guy. I have the same question about him as I did Sam Page at the top of the show. What's really going on here?
I think he was asked to move along, is what I think happened. And, by all accounts, that...
Not necessarily voluntary. He's finding greener pastures in Columbus.
Yeah, and they probably made he probably had one of those Ed Ogeron. Remember Ed Ogeron, the coach of LSU? They fired him, and they said, here's your severance. And it was like $6 million. And he said, where do you want me to sign and what door you want me to go out of? I think that's kind of what's happened here.
Michael?
He then also had a thought process of really wanting to be partners with the local government, and it really just lost its way. The business community got tied into carrying political narratives rather than holding government accountable. I think things, dissipated over the last couple of years. I'm hopeful that this fresh start allows us to get a business community back in here who's engaged and who's going to hold government accountable because, boy, goodness, they're not really producing.
Nationwide search for his replacement. Do we need someone from outside St. Louis to...
I mean, I don't know how you clean the fish tank without bringing in fresh water. And we continue to use the same water over and over in St. Louis. Some outside perspective would be helpful.
President-elect Donald Trump calls on a familiar Missouri face to lead the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. Former auctioneer turned Republican Congressman and Senate candidate Billy Long. Missouri's Republican senators are all smiles over this choice.
The IRS in many ways has lost its way, and I think President Trump wants to have people who come in and shake things up. I think Billy Long will do that, and maybe he'll even auction off a few buildings along the way.
That agency needs total reform. I hope he will immediately cut the 87,000 IRS agents that Joe Biden hired to harass working people.
Long is a businessman who served 6 terms in the U.S. House, representing Springfield and Southwest Missouri. He's a folksy, down-home conservative who sponsored legislation to wipe out much of the U.S. tax code in the past. Michael, even though he may be liked on both sides of the aisle, at least one congressional Democrat says this is a terrible pick.
Well,
run the IRS.
I know Billy Long. He's a nice man. He's a likable fella. He's an interesting, and he's good for a soundbite anytime. Having said that, there's a lot of norms being broken here. Number one, the president's going to fire the IRS director to put Billy Long in there. Plus, there's been rhetoric throughout this entire presidential campaign of wanting to implement changes, sometimes weaponize the IRS. I'm hopeful that that's not going to be the case, but that's what people are concerned about.
Is he a Matt Gaetz?
Pete
Hegseth?
Yeah, I don't know that he's necessarily a strategist in that sense, but he's definitely a good mouthpiece at the top of the organization.
Is Billy Long up to this job, John?
Sure. But here's the thing. The IRS commissioner has historically not been a political figure. It's been, a professional, usually within the organization. They serve 5-year terms, so they don't become politicized. That's the whole point of it. So, this is very unusual what's happening here. Billy Long could do the job, and let me just say, I'd love to not be audited for the next 4 years, so good luck, Billy.
But, you talk about taking the politics out of it.
Yeah.
Republicans say this has become political under Biden, hiring the 87,000 agents that Josh Hawley talked about, and maybe going after Republicans, Catholics, all of this stuff, right? This has all been bandied about. Is it not politically driven right now?
I hope not, because it should not be. And the IRS is, we should simplify the tax code in this country is what we should do. So you don't need to go to lawyers and accountants and everybody to figure out your taxes. But that's not, the IRS commissioners
have Democrats used the IRS, Michael?
Not to my knowledge, but the IRS should be used to implement the rules and laws that come from government, not the other way around. And I think that's the big fear, is the Trump administration going to use the IRS as a tool for their advocacy in the executive office.
You think he'll get approved, though?
I do.
Yeah.
Hometowner, Missouri guy.
Yep.
Up next, President-elect Trump, not President Biden, goes to Paris for a huge international event. This as President Biden faces the fallout for a historic lie about pardoning his son, Hunter.